Welcome back, everyone. It's Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases when we get them, and the websites by plebs. Joining us today, fellow Bitcoiners and return guests, we've got memer Weinicus from the Meme Tards, and we've got fellow Bitcoiner Liron, who's helping us make our website. So is Weinicus, but I'm just saying. Anyways, let's go to the numbers. Let's do it, people.
Number Time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever. Take advantage of the link down below for 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 709,899. The Bitcoin price 63,960. Chain rewrite day 746. Total public lightning capacity 3,216.76. Moscow time 1563, and blocks to the halvening 130,101. Yeah, numbers.
Yo,
Numbers.
Numbers.
Block height is at an all-time high.
Signal. That's the signal right there.
That's
block
the
height is
signal.
at an all-time high. But what about the lightning node, the public lightning node capacity? 3,000. What was it? 3,216.
I think that is another all-time high.
Is that another all-time high?
Man, I just kind of lost count because it's just
Yeah.
parabolic. But other than that, boring numbers, Phil. Super boring. But hey, we got a special surprise for you guys. Thanks to Liron, thanks to Weinicus. They've been working on something special for us at Simply Bitcoin. Phil, why don't you give everyone a sneak peek of the new Simply Bitcoin dashboard? Huh? Is that what we're gonna call it? I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't know either. But
I got it. Liron's Simply Bitcoin dashboard. By
are you ready?
Clark Weinicus.
Take a look. Take a look. This is going to be our new dashboard, right? For Simply Bitcoin.
So we got
I think it's got a proper look and feel, right?
I like it. Guys, please let us know. Give us feedback down below in the comments. Rip us a new one if you don't like it.
Proper labeling.
If you have any feedback, any concerns, anything, just please let us know down in the comments, because after all, this show is for the plebs. But it looks freaking awesome. And I want to give a shout out to the Wiz, which is Liron. Liron definitely did this, and of course, Weinicus helped with he's good with the UI design, so brought these fellow plebs, and they're doing. Oh, he sprinkled the salt.
I just added the little salt on top.
The little salt on top.
Ron killed the cattle, butchered it, and grilled it. I just did this.
So yeah, man. So we have our own dashboard. It's gonna go live on our website, simplybitcoin.tv/dashboard. We haven't decided yet, but we'll let you know. But before we move on to the next segment, don't forget to subscribe to us on Rumble and Apple Podcasts and Spotify and the rest of the podcast platforms, in case YouTube decides to snip it. I know what you're gonna say, Phil. Doesn't matter.
Nope.
It's time for
the Daily Fail. The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. It's Bitcoin made easy, the easiest way to invest in Bitcoin. The link's down below in the show notes. Yellow, you malaka. Tell them what's up.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
All right, we got two daily fails, but you know the first one's kind of like a fun, lighthearted daily fail brought to us by Darthcoin. I think he's the one that sent me this link. And what are you still doing here? What's he still doing here? Go away.
Go away, Yellow.
No.
Okay. Anyways.
Malaka.
All right. Let's dive into this.
We apologize.
Craig is a potato.
What? Anyways. Okay. Let's continue. Daily fail time. If you bought Bitcoin instead of effing stupid shit, you'd have this amount of dollars. Click here. This can't be that bad. I don't even know what the result, I don't know what they are, so let's dive in and see. What's this? All right. So here we go. If you bought Bitcoin instead of a social network, oh, you'd have 7.67, what is that? $7.6 million?
Oh, that's the movie, the Social
Movies if you
Network.
bought the DVD.
It's the actual DVD, right?
The DVD when they had
Oh
DVDs.
my
back then.
gosh. That is horrible. Oh gosh. Okay. So hold on. The Roku stick.
If you
Yeesh.
ooh,
Good luck with that. A Fitbit. Okay. So
dude, that
low
was
time preference,
That
right?
was only 2016. That's crazy. Click one more.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. A V1 Tesla. Shell's Doge anyways, so look at that, man. Look at that. You'd have 43 million bucks. So if you just skipped out on getting the V1 Tesla,
I don't even
generations
care.
of your family wouldn't have to work.
I wouldn't even like. I'm not even looking at the 43 million. I'm looking at the 680 Bitcoin.
No, I know, but I'm
Holy
talking.
crap!
look at
Is
that
that a stack, man?
You kidding me?
680 Bitcoin. That's a bum.
All right.
One
How about a full
PlayStation.
Bitcoin for a PlayStation?
I'll take that any day.
Right?
Anyone? Now I have an Xbox. Anyone want to buy my Xbox for Bitcoin? Oh man! All right,
so
Phil.
we go the Xbox. Okay.
Let's
Okay.
move on. Let's move
All
on.
right.
The lesson of the story is yellow overstate is welcome, and don't spend your Bitcoin.
That's right. Steve Hanke, his terrible takes, his awful takes. We are about to dive into this. Let's go. Ethereum is giving Bitcoin a run for its money. So hold on a second. Just even before we get into this, right? Think of all the terrible takes that he's had about like cryptocurrencies, you know, enabling criminals and stuff like that. But all of a sudden, here he is talking about Ethereum giving a Bitcoin a run for its money. Ethereum has become increasingly popular amongst DeFi and NFTs, right? You know, like I need to show you guys the rec leaderboard one more time. Yes. Okay, we know the rug pulls the scams, resulting in a 560% price surge this year. Has the look of a bubble, but is it? What a disingenuous prick, right? Like, think about it, right? These people pretend, you know, to be all virtuous and to be looking out for everyone and all this stuff and, oh, Bukele and his crackpot ideas. And here he is, essentially, right, creating this narrative that, wait, there's more on this. This is special. Like, anyways, such garbage, such a terrible narrative. Okay, let's proceed. Let's proceed to the actual article that he used to cite. Move over, Bitcoin. Ether is back and nipping at your heels. Wow, this sounds familiar, guys. For those of us who were here in 2017, this is going to sound familiar. Here we go. Experts predict that this wave of decentralized finance, or CeFi, even though they're pretending it's DeFi, will become more prevalent in banking. That could be great news for Ether as well as Solana, another crypto that has blockchain technology used in DeFi applications. All right. So this is very special. We're seeing a shift in the industry where Bitcoin went from being 75% of the overall cryptocurrency market to about 50%. Michael Pinsker, founder and president of wealth management tech firm DocuPace, who doesn't apparently look back in history, anyways, said about the drop in Bitcoin's market share since 2017. That percentage should come down even further. Okay, so.
I think he's just mad that his name is Pinkster.
Yeah. So let's go back to 2017, okay? Let's go back to 2017. The Bitcoin dominance thing is a complete scam metric that doesn't mean shit, okay? Because really all that happens is that there's a bunch of people that come into Bitcoin, they get fooled by the tech narratives, okay? They get fooled by the partnership parades, and they end up getting scammed. So yeah, temporarily, those numbers are completely, all the time they're meaningless, but temporarily, people place a lot of emphasis on them to make them seem like they matter, but they don't. Anyways, up to 2017, Bitcoin accounted for 90 to 95% of all the crypto market, but that changed suddenly in the early part of 2017 as Bitcoin dominance fell from 95% to below 55% by September. By late 2017, Bitcoin has reasserted its dominance, shooting back up to 70% in total market capitalization. A few weeks ago, Bitcoin's dominance was up to 40%, but it has since started to reverse and is headed back towards 50%. Okay. So it already did this, okay? This is no surprise. There's a giant influx of shitcoins, and you see this number change. Who gives a shit?
No, and the most important part, Phil, is that like, so think of it kind of like a cycle, and we've pulled up so many visuals for you guys, but every single bull market, run off top, right? If you look at the top 10 shitcoins, right, they're all different every single time, right? I think XRP and ETH managed to stay in there, but even them two, they still trend to zero if you compare them to actual Bitcoin, right? So, it's just like, look, like, the bull run takes place, the fucking shitcoin scam developers, they're like, okay, let's take advantage of this. Let's pull some no coiners in here that don't have any experience. And clearly, those worthless fucking tokens are going to be pumped, right? We saw the one with Squid Game with the guy. It was like a $1.2 trillion market cap. And then it was like, oh, it's went to zero, So yeah, man, it's just like, it's just like every cycle, the same thing happens. The shit coins pump, but then the bear market hits and the inevitably, most of them go to zero, some survive, but all of them trend to zero towards Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah. And I would even suggest that XRP only sticks around because it has the second biggest marketing budget. So I think it has a lot to do with the marketing budget, but I digress. Anyways, so check this out, right? This is kind of an interesting point here. In its latest earnings report after the closing bell Tuesday, Coinbase said that 22% of its third quarter trading volume was for Ether compared to 19% for Bitcoin. So I want you to think about that, right? That's still pretty huge. Like, I want you to think about, like, Bitcoin has less has less trading volume, but I would suggest that we probably do a much better we do a much better job of explaining the narrative of Bitcoin, which is the store of value and the censorship resistance, whereas Ether constantly pivots. So it's just used as a casino token, like all the other casino tokens that have spawned from it. Anyways, I just think it's like, I think that's like a nonsensical point on their part, right? Like, to bring that up, it's just like fluff. Like, are you kidding me? Like, who gives a shit about 3%? But okay, if you want to make a big deal about 3%, I'm going to tell you there's more hodlers. Anyways, it makes me think of the Glassnode stuff that you show. Okay, the persistence of inflation. This is great. Okay, this is magic. The persistence of inflation is benefiting Ether and other cryptocurrencies too. Consumer prices continue to surge, and investors recognize that digital currencies are gaining value at a time when interest rates remain low and the Fed and other central banks pump money into the economy. No. Shitcoins. Shitcoins can be mass produced. There is absolutely no inflation resistance whatsoever. This doesn't exist. This is fake. Okay? This is the whole thing where they try to validate their existence based on Bitcoin's narrative. No, screw you. You don't have those properties. You don't get to have them. Just because you burn tokens, okay, and you have an infinite supply that can't be verified doesn't mean you get to have those properties. That's insane and fake. Anyways, experts say stick to Ether and Bitcoin and avoid the meme coins. I'm sorry. I just had to highlight that. This is what experts, Nico? Do you know any experts? What about you guys?
Dude. Man, there's no such thing as experts, bro. Like, anyone who that's an expert is like, it's a leftover of the fiat world, bro. Like, the credentials don't mean anything here. It's all about the value and the truth that you provide. So if you have a PhD and master's in economics, like, I could give two fucks what you think about Bitcoin. But in the old. In the old world, you'd be considered an expert in finance and all that stuff. But again, like,
Hold on. They say avoid meme coins, yet Ethereum is a meme coin. Just saying.
Oh, Weinicus is on the show, so he's speaking in memes. All right.
I don't even know if I could finish this now. That's it. He just freaking dropped the bomb and walked away. Crypto now is a lot like the 1990s and the internet, said Eric Satz, CEO and founder of Alto, an investment firm which offers a crypto IRA. He's referring to the many e-commerce companies that went public and soared back then, but only one true leader, Amazon, is still standing today. Yes, if we're going to compare anything, if we're going to do this ridiculous comparison, then we're going to say, yes, there is Bitcoin and everything else is a complete scam. Because none of it needs to be money. None of it needs to have a token. If its technology is so worthwhile, it'll be ported into Bitcoin. If it's worth investing in, they'll go and have quote unquote shares. And people can vote and they'll do all of that fun bureaucratic crap. Anyways, Ether and Bitcoin versus meme coins are like the difference between blue chips and penny stocks. You get a call about from a guy in a boiler room, Yusuf said. Are you kidding me? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what they do? This is you know what? This kind of stuff got me when I was a shitcoiner, right? They group the shitcoin with Bitcoin and then it magically takes on its properties. All of a sudden, oh, wait a second now, it's part of that. No, it's not. We've shown you time and time again, it's not part of that. Okay, it's not Bitcoin.
No, yeah, and we had go ahead, Phil, sorry.
I just want to finish up and say that is the crappy article that he referred to make his stance about Ethereum and all of these shit coins standing a chance. Like that's what he used.
I'm gonna take a little bit more of a tinfoil hat approach, and I'm gonna pull up an original thought that I had, and just read it. The fact that Steve Hanke is rooting for ETH to overtake BTC, and that an executive member of the ETH Foundation is on the World Economic Forum tells you everything you need to know, right? So, again, why is Steve Hanke more in favor of Ethereum? Why are the mainstream media more in favor of Ethereum? Why is the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, we need to reset the world? And that's because they can control it, right? You know, we showed you the receipts. The vast majority of Ethereum nodes are hosted, right, around 68% to 70%. We'll pull up the graphic, right? So they're not run by individuals, right? And you contrast that with the Bitcoin network, right? Because it's not as resource intensive, right? And that's what the Fork Wars was all about, right? You know, anybody could run a Bitcoin node, right? It doesn't cost that much money, right? So it's all inclusive, and Bitcoin put decentralization above all, and Ethereum is in the hands of Jeff Bezos, essentially. So, you know, whatever Jeff Bezos, it should be really called Ethereum sponsored by or brought to you by Amazon Web Services, you know? So anyways, but Steve Hanke the Panky's going to continue making a fool of himself. Bitcoin humbles all. And I think I'm really excited to see what this guy's going to be saying 10 years from now when Bitcoin's in the millions of dollars. Like, is he still going to be typing like, this isn't a currency? Anyways, what are your thoughts, Winekiss and Leron?
I think that they had something right there comparing to penny stocks, and it just shows Bitcoin dominance is such a misleading indicator. That's like saying Apple and penny stocks that are in the tech field are Apple dominance. Like, they have nothing to do with each other. And the fact that Bitcoin gets paired up with any other crypto is disheartening. It's terrible because they have nothing to do with Bitcoin. And obviously people like Steve Hanke, Naval Ravikant, Paul Graham, Mike Novogratz, Raul Paul, those guys are all compromised fiat maxis. They don't care about decentralization. They don't care about sovereignty. They only want to take over things that will pump their bags. So,
absolutely, they're fiat maximalists. That's they just care about that fiat number, that fiat accumulation, right? They're not about the revolution. But anyways, the whiz of our new dashboard, Leron's Simply Bitcoin dashboard. Leron, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head. I think that they have an incentive to be a part of ETH and promote ETH. They want to control it. They probably have a piece of it. They know that they can control the technologies and companies and things that, you know, provide all these services, whether it's just the node services or any of the other things that these people play with on top of Ethereum. These are all registered companies. So when the time comes where they've decided how to regulate these things, they're going to be worthless. It's going to be like, okay, all these things that you thought you were doing on here, now it's going to be controlled by
absolutely
who you thought was not going to be controlling it. So, you know, Bitcoin can't be regulated in that way. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't matter what they want to regulate with. Bitcoin just cannot be regulated in that way. But these other altcoins, they can and more likely will be.
Yeah, because I think you're spot on. You know, you have Gary Gensler, you know, being very, very aggressive, saying, you know, that the crypto market as a whole isn't going to survive outside the existing regulatory framework, that means that DeFi is done, right? Because it's inherently centralized. There's a head to chop off, metaphorically. And with Ethereum, remember what happened to Parler, right? That social media app that, don't want to get too much into politics, but, the conservatives were using the Parler app because they were getting censored and all that jazz. And it got booted essentially from the App Store, and its servers were on Amazon Web Services. So what happens if Jeff Bezos wakes up one day, he steps on attack and he's like, yo, fuck this Ethereum shit, I don't like it, and that's 70% of the entire Ethereum node network. Like, man, if that isn't centralization, I don't know what is. And we had Hugo on the other day, and he was talking about the fact that you actually need about 32 Ethereum or 21 Ethereum or something to actually stake and host an Ethereum node. So I don't know what the math is off the top of my head, but that's a couple $100,000, right? So for you to essentially be a node operator, now all of a sudden you need to have money, right? Like, compare that.
I think
to
that's
Bitcoin.
for their ETH2 that they're like, trying to push. But yeah, it's all centralizing. They want that.
It's like, that's literally the system we have today. The more fiat you have, the more influence that you have over the network. You play by a different set of rules than everybody else, and you contrast that with Bitcoin, it's completely different. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the Daily Meme Review. The Daily Meme Review is brought to you by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. Get yourself a physical copy. There's only 1,000 made per volume. They're absolutely beautiful. Every single volume has different artwork. Check it out. Has the Bolievars. Really cool. Check out citadel21.com. All right, Phil. You know how it is. Steve Hanke he loves to give us source material. This is a tweet by him. In politics, stupidity is not a handicap. Napoleon Bonaparte. And of course, thanks to the Bitcoin Taliban, Bitcoin is your Waterloo, old man. And for anyone who's not in the know, Waterloo is the final battle that Napoleon got defeated and then he got exiled. Anyways, moving on to the next one. Check this out. Sometimes we don't only cover memes on Simply Bitcoin. We were tagged by a fellow plebe, BTC Bourgeoisie. I think that's how you say it. Anyways, he says, at my local Quaker Steak and Lube, picture taken last night, when restaurants can't print the prices on their menus because they're fluctuating too fast, there's a problem. When are groceries going to follow suit? And ask your server for current market pricing. This is a prelude, right? Same thing happened in Venezuela. And the reason for this is, why are you going to put the price on the menu, right, and print that and waste money printing and putting prices on a menu if the prices, if the value of the dollar is devaluing so rapidly that you constantly have to increase the prices? It just doesn't make sense. So that's where they put something like that. Again, this is another sign of what, Kaiser, Ron Paul, Jack Dorsey have all been predicting, which is, the inflation, or the word that should not be said, the hyperinflation, maybe could be happening. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Next meme is by Pubby. Tell them some solid dating advice. Tell them you're into Bitcoin, just not how deep into Bitcoin. I think this is super, super good. My girlfriend, she's a Bitcoiner, but she absolutely just doesn't want to hear it anymore, because all I do is talk about Bitcoin. And my no-coiner friends, I can't even fucking relate to them, because I just look at them as like people stuck in this fiat matrix, and they're just on a different tip. It's weird. But anyways, last meme, last but not least, by Hodl Tarantula. Bitcoin is affordable for all. VS Caca coins. Hey, Caca coins. The Ethereum gas fees won't be that high. The Ethereum gas fees. And it's Snoop. Snoop Double G, I can't say it. But anyways, Phil, for those memes, I'm going to give it my empty glass of strawberry and blueberry shake? It's not a milkshake because there wasn't milk. So it's just a shake. It's an empty glass of strawberry blueberry shake. What about you?
Sounds very healthy and refreshing. I just want to point out that that tweet with the screenshot with the wings, the Bitcoin account on Twitter took that screenshot, took that picture, and then reused it in their own original tweet instead of retweeting his tweet and then just simply adding to it. So and didn't give him credit for it.
It was
that's kind of weak. Yeah.
I mean, he does say illegal broker.
Yeah. This is true. But I mean, I feel like he should have still gotten credit, from the Bitcoin account for taking his picture, and at least a hat tip or something. But no. But anyways, look, that's not why we're here to crap on that stuff. But shame on the Bitcoin account. Anyways, it's not even. I don't even think it's run by an actual Bitcoiner anymore, is it? I don't even know. Anyways, who cares? So I am giving these memes, love them all. I am giving it a Nico type of score. My Apple charger with the cable, and yes, I keep the wrap on these things forever because as soon as you take it off, it starts to change colors.
Yeah, no, it scratches and stuff, but like Phil,
but
I like peeling off the stickers. It feels so good, like when you get
the closest you can keep these
to
mint.
You get a new iPhone and you're like,
it's the closest you can keep them to mint.
Anyways, enough said. Weinicus, what would you give those memes?
I'll give them GM.
A GM.
And GFY.
A GM and a GFY. I have no idea what that is, but those are some great scores. Last but not least, Leron, the Simply Bitcoin Dashboard Whiz. What would you give those memes?
I'll give it a little Steve signer. Without a case.
Oh! Wow. Okay, so Leron one-upped all of us.
Yeah.
Completely. But anyways, guys, we want to know, do you agree with their scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comments. And join our Telegram group. Link us some Bitcoin memes to review. Because of Bitcoin meme review, we need memes to review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the daily news. Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. It's the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the Bitcoin Freedom grenade art, super cool, and the awesome 3D printed Bitcoin honey badger. Get yours now, CryptoCloaks.com, and take advantage of the link down below for 5% off. Guys, Taproot has been activated. We covered it. We had to read an article because we're not technical Bitcoiners, right? We're just plebs. But guess what? We brought Leron to explain it. Leron, Taproot has been activated. What's the big deal? Why should everyone care?
Taproot is actually a really big deal for the Bitcoin network. It's our biggest upgrade since we've had SegWit, and the biggest deal of it is just the way that scripting is handled by the network. You're able to do a lot more complicated scripts with a lot less fees, as well as only revealing what is necessary to be revealed to spend that script as you spend it. So, if you do a channel open with Lightning, that channel stays open. Nobody really knows what that transaction is for. If you do any other kind of smart contract, until you spend it, no one's really going to know what it's for. And even when you do spend it, you're only going to be revealing the part of that contract that is necessary to prove. You don't have to reveal all of the possible outcomes that could have happened in that contract. And I think that's really interesting, and it gives us a lot of flexibility. That's just part of what it is. There's a lot more there too, with different kind of signatures and things like that we're including.
Thank you, man. So we read an article, I think it was on Saturday's episode, kind of to get into the nitty gritty, but it's always good to actually hear it from a human being who's knowledgeable on it. And no, super cool. I think it's a huge deal, and I think it's a big win for privacy reasons, right? Because what Leron was saying, you won't be able to detect the difference between a Lightning network transaction and a regular transaction, and you won't be able to tell the difference between a multi-sig transaction and a regular transaction. So chain analysis companies. But anyways, moving on to the next one. I thought this was this was pretty cool, and I think this represents how awesome the Bitcoin community is. This tweet is by Tom Good. I can't pronounce that. I don't want to butcher it. Anyways, somebody just overpaid 520 times to broadcast a Taproot transaction in the first Taproot block with a little welcome message embedded in the TX. And the message is, "Good morning, Taproot." And look at the type. It is the new address type. Really cool stuff. And again, just a hat tip from a Bitcoiner. Super cool stuff. Anyways, moving on. Check this out. We are still living in clown world, and as I forget where I read this, but essentially, as empires fall, the laws start to get more. The laws and the rhetoric start to become more and more ridiculous, right? And, there's a really famous saying, which is, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And this is really giving me Weimar Republic type of vibes, The Biden administration, again, we're apolitical on this show. We don't, lean right. We don't lean left. We stand for Bitcoin. But this just happens to be the administration in power. If it was a right-leaning administration, they'd be printing money too, right? Like Cynthia Loomis said the other day in a testimony committee. But anyways, let's check out the clip.
And I know you're hoping to pass it, but even if it does pass, it's going to take a while for the benefits to kick in. So what can Americans expect in the short term? Is inflation going to get worse before it gets better? Is there anything President Biden can do in the short term?
We're focused on how to address this in the short term and the medium term, George. In the short term, number one, we have to finish the job on COVID. We know that the more that people feel comfortable getting out into the economy, going to movies rather than buying a television at home, working in the workplace, the more we can return a sense of normalcy to our economy. Getting those shots out for 5 to 11-year-olds is going to provide a lot of to American families. We're making a lot of progress on that front. Getting more workplaces COVID-free is going to make more Americans comfortable getting back into the labor market as well. The second thing we can do right now is focus on these supply chain issues. Right now, the American economy is moving more goods through the economy than we ever have. But that's creating some challenges. We're working with the ports in LA and Long Beach, getting them to go 24/7, and getting right to work in implementing this historic infrastructure bill. On Monday, the president will sign this bill into law.
Okay, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't listen to this anymore. But before we comment on it, let's enrage ourselves a little bit more, Phil. White House pitches multi-trillion-dollar budget as cure to inflation. President Biden's economic team argued Sunday that the best remedy for inflation is to pass the administration's multi-trillion-dollar social welfare and climate change bill. Treasury Janet Yellen told CBS Face the Nation that inflation will be a problem as long as the coronavirus continues to rack the national economy. Many people remain concerned about the health consequences of working. Childcare arrangements may be disrupted. If we're successful with the pandemic, to be sometime in the second half of next year, I would expect prices to go back to normal. That is exactly word for word what she said last year. She said in 2020, she said in 2021, prices would go back to normal. And all of mainstream media reported that as a fact. And two idiots on YouTube, right, talking about Bitcoin were more accurate about it. And the reason for that is because it's fucking obvious, okay? This is the M1 money supply, right? Check this out, okay? 1971. This is 2020. That is not normal. That is a record amount of money printing. That is a hockey stick going up. But not only that, check out the Fed asset sheet. This represents the amount of assets the Fed puts on its balance sheet to justify the printing of money. In the way that it used to work is that essentially when the government wanted to print money, they would issue bonds. Those bonds would be bought by the open market, right? but there's not enough money in the world, in the open market, to be buying all those bonds. So it's the Fed themselves that's buying them, and they're just putting it on their balance sheet. Total clown world. But if you were to listen to what Yellen was saying and what this gentleman was saying, it's because the 5 and 11-year-olds have not been jabbed. And again, just to specify, we're not anti-vax. You know, do whatever you feel comfortable with. If you want to get vaccinated because you feel that that's good for your health, go for it. If you don't because you feel like you don't want to, you know, we support that as well, right? We are neutral on that, right? Just to specify. But inflation isn't caused because of COVID, and it's not caused because of supply chains. It's caused by the record amount of money printing. And here's the deal. They can't stop it. And the reason that they can't stop it is because if they raise interest rates, okay, if they slow down like the tapering off that they said they're going to that they said they were going to do, the stock market crashes, right? And what's the other option? Their other option is to keep the Ponzi going, aka money printer go burr, right? Which means more inflation, right? 6.2% inflation was reported. There was reported a couple days ago. That is the highest level of inflation in the last 30 years, and we suspect that number is going to keep getting worse, right? Again, coming from Venezuela and kind of experiencing this firsthand, right? Again, when you have the CEO of Twitter saying hyperinflation, right? You know, when you have Ron Paul, you have Michael Burry, you know, you have a lot of these credible people, you know, like put two simple plebs aside, right? You know, it's pretty obvious, right? And it's only so long that the American people, in my opinion, Phil, are going to be buying up these excuses, because that's all they are. They're misdirection plays. They're blaming it on, you know, a horrible sickness that, you know, affected the world. They're blaming it on the supply chains, which I might add, they caused those by the lockdowns, right? So again, you know, it's a total clown world, and this is very reminiscent of the fall of, you know, the Roman Empire. It was the same thing, right? Laws didn't matter. Corruption was rampant, you know, and you're kind of seeing very similar things here, right? And the fact that the president of the United States and, you know, people are saying that a record amount of spending $3.25 trillion is going to cost zero is absolute insanity, total propaganda. And yeah, man, just buy Bitcoin, opt out of that. That's madness, man. Because if you don't opt out, you're going to be forced to care about politics, right? You're gonna get into that whole left and right debate, you know. And the left is like, you have to get vaccinated. The right's like, leave me alone, man. That's the circus show. That's a distraction. That's to keep you divided. That's the whole point, right? It's not about that. The enemy isn't the person on the left that has, you know, left-leaning ideology. The enemy isn't the person on the right that has right-leaning ideology. The one that's making you poorer is the government by printing the record amount of money that they're doing, right? So anyways, just a thought. Phil, what do you think?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's, you know, there. And again, I take this with a grain of salt, right? Because I'm not really there in the trenches, so to speak, at that level. You know, but I speak to people who, you know, who drive trucks. I speak to people who work at, you know, port authorities and stuff like that. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of stock that's completely backed up. And I'm not actually hearing that there's a problem with people there. I'm just hearing that they're simply not moving the product. And they're not moving products. I'm hearing from people who drive trucks that they're being forced to sit in lines out at these ports for miles and miles, just waiting.
That is very strange.
So that is kind of strange. And of course, right, like I'm not near that, so, you know, I don't really know. But at the same time, it does sound kind of strange. Like why does getting children jabbed? Why is that a primary focus over getting supply chains? Like supply chains get us all of the things that we need, including medicine, including all the things that everybody needs. Like you think that supply chains would be And considering, again, I hate going into the, all the statistics and stuff, but considering what we know about, children and their immunity to this, okay?
Yeah, no, it's irrelevant.
Exactly.
Dude.
I'm not going there, but I'm just saying, supply chains should be right up there. One thing does not impact the other. You know what I mean? They can do both things in parallel. It makes no sense. And this confusion is done on purpose.
Absolutely.
This confusion is completely done on purpose so that people, look, nobody can make a proper decision. And when you can't make a proper decision, you can't point the finger at anyone. Just like you said.
No, it's pure dividing.
So we point the finger at each other.
You're like, it's the left's fault. And then the left says it's the right's fault. It's like, no, dude. It's the government's fault. It's literally the government's fault. It's not the people on the left. It's not the people on the right. We can all be friends, right? But anyways, Lebron, what are your thoughts on this?
The writing's on the wall. They know it. They know where this is heading. They know where it's going. They're not going to say it. They're not going to admit it. They're going to try to blame it on anything but what is obvious, because they want to later try to, we didn't think that, and we didn't think that this was going to happen, and we didn't know. And no, they all know. They know exactly where this is heading. And it's clear. You can look and see where people are moving. Nobody wants to keep their money in cash. Nobody. That's nobody wants to do it. Even stupid people are putting their money into stupid things rather than leaving it in cash, just because they even know that their cash is going to be worthless, or at least worth a lot less than it is today in buying power. So it's writing's on the wall, man. It's sad. I don't know. And no one knows how to get out of it. So it's just Bitcoin is the only answer. It's the only reason we sleep at night. I know you guys feel the same way.
Dude, it's like an orange force field. It's just protecting, my freedom, my sovereignty, my sanity. All of it, this is the power of Bitcoin. But anyways, Weinicus, tell us a meme describe the situation in a meme. You're on mute, bro.
No, just let him go. Just let him go.
Great meme.
All I can say is that the only answer I have as to why this is happening is that it's just one giant practical joke, because none of it makes sense. So I think whoever is making these decisions is having a really fun time watching this. And I think it's funny. It's pretty funny what's going on, and it's sad at the same time. And not only is it not the left's fault or the right's fault, it could be the government's fault, but it's also your fault. Whoever is taking part of these things, just don't comply. This is all BS. It's nonsensical.
Yeah,
I have to add, I'm sorry, I just want to add a quick quote to what Weinicus just said, because it's very relevant. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this one, but God is a comedian playing to an audience that's too afraid to laugh. And that's kind of the situation that we're in. Regardless of whether you believe in God or not, but just,
Bitcoiners are laughing.
Okay, so check this out. This article is from July 4th, 2014. And the name of the article, first of all, is brought to us by the legendary Pierre Richard, right? And it's called Speculative Attack. Let's check it out. So, Thier's Law. Good money drives out bad. Historically, it has been good. It has been good. Strong currencies have driven out bad, weak currencies. Over the span of several millennia, strong currencies have dominated and driven out weak in an international competition. The Persian, Doric, the Greek, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. The Greek, the Macedonian, Roman did not become dominant currencies of the ancient world because they were bad or weak. The florins, the ducats, and the sequins of the Italian city-states did not become the dollars of the Middle Ages because they were bad coins. They were among the best coins ever made. The pound sterling in the 19th century and the dollar in the 20th century did not become the dominant currencies of their times because they were weak. Consistency, stability, and high quality have been the attributes of great currencies that have won the competition for use as international money. Now, I want to read this part again. What has the most consistency, stability, and high quality right now? Anyways, that's the first hint. Moving on. Slow bleeds leads to currency crisis as the expected values of Bitcoin solidifies in people's minds. At first, they are conservative. They invest what they could afford to lose. After 12 to 18 months, their small stash of Bitcoins has dramatically increased in value. They see no reason why this long-term trend should reverse. The fundamentals have improved, and yet adoption remains low. Their confidence increases. They buy more Bitcoins. They rationalize. Well, it's only 1 to 5% of my investments. They see the price crash a few times due to bubbles bursting and just garden variety panic sales. It entices them to buy more, a bargain. Bitcoin grows on the asset side of their balance sheets. On the liability side of the Bitcoiner's balance sheet, there are mortgages, student loans, car loans, credit cards, etc. Everyone admonishes people to not borrow in order to buy Bitcoin. The reality is that money is fungible. If you buy Bitcoin instead of paying down your mortgage principal, you're a leveraged Bitcoin investor. Almost everyone is a leveraged Bitcoin investor because it makes economic sense within reason. The cost of borrowing, annualized interest rates ranging from 0 to 25%, is lower than the expected return of owning Bitcoins. The effect of people, businesses, or financial institutions borrowing their local currencies to buy Bitcoins is that the Bitcoin price in that currency would go up relative to other currencies. Keep in mind, right? This was written in July 4th, 2014. Check this out. This announcement from Marathon Digital Holdings, one of the largest Bitcoin mining publicly traded companies in the United States. Marathon Digital Holdings Inc., one of the largest enterprise Bitcoin self-mining companies in North America, today announced its intention to offer, subject to market and other conditions, $500 million aggregate principal amount of convertible senior notes due in 2026 in a private offering to qualified institutional buyers. I know what you're thinking. What the F does that mean? Dylan LeClaire does a good job at explaining that. Publicly traded Marathon Digital is offering $500 million of senior convertible notes due in 2026 to buy additional Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners. The speculative attack intensifies. The speculative attack. The act of borrowing in a weak currency to purchase a strong currency, the act of borrowing a fiat currency, creates more units of the weak currency, which are immediately sold to purchase the strong currency. So, absolutely crazy that Pierre Rochard predicted this in 2014. And again, every time, right? You know, whether it's like paying the minimum balance on your credit card, you know, maxing it out to buy Bitcoin. Again, the average return of Bitcoin year after year is 200%. So if you're getting a loan, you know, that's 10 to 25%, right? You could be reasonably certain, right, that the price of Bitcoin is going to appreciate more than that loan, right? So you are, whether you realize it or not, you're attacking the dollar, right? And now you have a huge public company, Marathon Digital, offering $500 million of convertible notes due in 2026 so that they can get a bunch of fiat now and use that fiat, right, to buy more mining equipment, to buy more miners, right? Because they know that the value of those miners, the value of that Bitcoin in 2026, right, is going to be worth more than the original $500 million loan, which is also losing value because of inflation, right? So again, crazy that Pierre Rochard predicted this in 2014, and I hope I didn't butcher it too much reporting on it. Phil?
Man, you know what? Fun fact, Pierre Rochard's account is now Bitcoin is saving. You know, for the people that don't know. But yeah, I think it's phenomenal that he predicted that in 2014. It's crazy to see that today. You know, as you were reading that, I was thinking, wow, I didn't realize that that's really what we're doing, but that's exactly what it is, right? It's a speculative attack on the, you know, on the dollar. And to be honest, you know, Bitcoin is the better trade. So the other thing is I wanted to take maybe, I guess, I don't know if it's a slightly different angle, but okay. It's interesting that Marathon is announcing this now at Bitcoin's quote unquote, you know, current fiat price levels. That's not a mom and pop shop. You know what I mean? Like it's not a mom and pop shop going and buying a couple of miners and sticking it in their basement. You know, this is a company that has quote unquote financial experts, right? And bean counters. And they looked at this, and that seems like a better decision. So that, again, we're not supposed to take anything away from that. Everybody, every company, every person has different timelines, right? Different time horizons. But that's kind of bullish as fuck.
They feel so confident that they're willing to essentially borrow $500 million, right? $500 million, because they're certain that with that $500 million in fiat cash, if they invest it into Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining infrastructure, they're going to have more. They're going to profit. They're going to have even more, right? And it's funny because Saylor did exactly the same thing, right? So if this starts to succeed, like, this is going to be a domino effect, man. Like, you're going to start to see other companies doing exactly the same thing, and it's exactly what was said in Pierre Richard's original article written in 2014, which absolutely blows my mind, is that, you know, good money roots out the bad money, right? People don't want to hold the bad money. People don't want to hold the garbage paper. People want to hold the soundest money, and the soundest money that was ever created is Bitcoin. Anyways, Lebron, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you said it, you know, this is the Saylor method. You know, they just take as much loans, you know, convert your stock, whatever you got to do just to get more Bitcoin on your balance sheet. You know, that's what these companies are going to end up doing. They all need to do it. It's inevitable. But, you know, it's crazy that Pierre had that foresight in 2014. Because in 2014, I was like a fiat maximalist. I'm not even going to lie. I knew about Bitcoin. I didn't really know about, didn't think of that economic aspect of it. I thought the technology was incredible. The decentralization was interesting. The mining was interesting. But I was still very much into the fiat world and, you know, debt is okay and all this stuff. And it's just crazy to see how times have changed. And I think that not only my mind has changed just because of Bitcoin and what's happened, but I think many people around me, even if they're not into Bitcoin, their idea of what the fiat system was supposed to be and borrowing and all this stuff is starting to change, I think.
Slowly but surely. And, you know, NGU technology does the convincing. You know, eventually everyone bends the knee. Wynekis, why don't you tell us your thoughts in a meme?
Well, the meme I think that should be reviewed is in that article for the fans. I think Nico should try to pronounce that Greek currency.
Oh, you got it. You got it. Okay, let me find it.
Meanwhile, you're looking for it. I just want to say that notice that Marathon's loan is due in 5 years. And if you look back at Bitcoin's price history, you can never lose money if you invested 4 years previously to when you currently purchased the Bitcoin. So,
oof, that is some signal right there.
I don't know if I said that right, but as long as you're borrowing, make sure that you can pay it off in a long enough time frame, and I think you'll be safe.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. No one's ever lost money holding onto Bitcoin for 4 years. And to go with Wynekis' request, I want to apologize, Yellow.
You have to say it with a Greek accent.
Greek, tetradrachma.
Tetradrachma.
That was pretty freaking good. Woo! Yellow's gonna be proud of me, bro. Yellow.
Don't stop believing. Hodl to that feeling.
Anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Brought to you by CipherSafe. Store your seed in this Steel hardware wallet. Check them out. CipherSafe.io. I don't think you're going to be able to. I don't think you're going to be able to destroy this thing. Check it out down below in the show notes. We've got actually a special release today because there was an issue identified, and we are talking about Umbrel version 0.4.8 that was released. If you're running Umbrel, you better update it now. Check it out down below in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, give us a follow in case YouTube on rumble.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and Phil wants to say You can find us on Anchor as well. And I want to give a shout out to our dear friends and fellow plebes, brothers in arms. Definitely go give Winekiss a follow on the Twitter at Winekiss. He is the soundboard engineer at Bitcoin Kindergarten. And he is the in-house meme dealer of Simply Bitcoin TV, and of course the legendary Wiz that came up with the Simply Bitcoin dashboard at It's Leron. Buddies of mine. These guys are fellow plebs. They're toxic plebs. Definitely want to give them a follow. Guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, you want to continue hearing the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective and the catastrophic fails from Steve Hanke the Panky. Definitely consider subscribing, and we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
We wish we were making this up. Opt out. Buy Bitcoin.